Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I've got a brand new set of images to show you from Art Impressions, and this is a really pretty Valentine set, and it goes along with the Front Porch series, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But first, let's get started creating our background for the card. So I've got a piece of craft cardstock. This measures 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. Now let's grab the Falling Hearts stencils from Fawn, and it's a two-part stencil set. And so we're going to start with the first one, and I'd like to find that logo at the bottom of the stencil. Make sure it's facing up towards you, and then it will be really easy to line up that second stencil. So what I do is I place it in the right-hand corner of my cardstock. So I'm lining up the corner of the stencil with the corner of the cardstock. And now I've got my Lumberjack Plaid Distress Oxide ink from Holtz, and I've got a Hero Arts blending brush, and I'm going to go ahead and blend that color right into the stencil. And this is one of the new colors from Holtz, and it's just such a pretty red. We're going to be combining this with a lighter pink color for the second stencil, so it'll really give us a really pretty background. Now once I finish stenciling that, I grabbed this Saltwater Taffy, but I did decide to clean off my mat first. This is the Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, so I'm just cleaning that off really quickly. I'll place this back down. Again, I'm taking that stencil, I'm looking for that logo at the very bottom that says Fawn. I'm placing it in the right-hand corner. And now we can stencil part 2. This is the second stencil. I've got the Saltwater Taffy, and I'll go ahead and apply that ink. So once I get this background completed, I thought that it would be pretty to give it kind of a softer look in the background. We're going to be grabbing some white ink. So let's finish this up. And now you can see what a pretty background that creates with those two colors. So let's go ahead and quickly heat set this so that we can come in with that white ink. This is called Picket Fence, and again, it's from the Holtz collection. And I'm going to go all the way around the edges with this white ink, and that's just going to soften everything. I wanted to give it kind of a dreamy effect. The images that we're going to be using, one of the images is a little rocking chair with a cat and a puppy on there, and they're both sleeping. So that kind of set the scene for my background. I just thought I'd give it kind of a soft, dreamy background. So let's go ahead now and spatter this. I'm going back to the Lumberjack Plaid. I'm just spraying a little bit of water on my glass media mat with my Distress sprayer. And then I'll grab a small paintbrush and I'll just spatter this entire background. And that'll just bring everything together. So you can see that up close, and we'll set that aside to dry. Now to create our card base, I've got a card that measures 5.5 by 11 inches. This is again the craft cardstock, and I'm going to score this at 5.5 inches. So we're making a square card that'll measure 5.5 by 5.5. Gone ahead and folded that, and now I've got a little white layer in there. I just cut that a little bit larger than that heart background. Now let's take a look at the Front Porch set. And again from Art Impressions, and this is part of the Front Porch series. This is the main stamp that you need to create all of the front porches. So you need this set in order to create all of them. So we're going to start with this. I'm going to do my stamping using the Versafine Onyx black ink, and I'm using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock to do my stamping. I've got the paper placed in my mini MISTI stamp positioner, and I'm using my STAMPendable stamp press to press that out. Now let's start off with the beige and the mid brown, and again I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. and I'll be listing the colors in that upper left-hand corner as we go along. And to do my blending, I'm using the Zig blender pen. So I've placed both of those colors down. I started with the lighter color and then added that bit of a shadow up underneath the doorway. And then I'll just pull that down. We'll be adding some more shadows here. I'm going to add some kind of for each of those little tiles and then along the edges and just kind of pull it over, sort of giving that shadow off to the left-hand side of each of these little bricks or pieces of slate, whatever you want to, however you want to think of these. So I'm going to just do that, and that'll give these a little bit more of a three-dimensional look. And this goes really quickly. And again, this particular image is needed in order to do the front porch. And there are several add-on sets. I will list and link down below. I think there's 4 other videos I've already done using this particular front porch series. And there's a farmhouse, there's a garden set, there's Halloween and a Christmas set, all kinds of things. So I will list the ones down below that I've already created cards for, and you'll see that I did all different kinds of backgrounds, created different kinds of scenes. On one I did I did an Easter one where I did some brickwork in the background. I did a birthday party one, and I put some confetti in the background, so you can really have fun with these in order to create that look that you want behind your front porch. So this new add-on set that we're going to be using today is the Valentines set. I'll give you a closer look at that as we go along. And here I'm just using that beige and mid-brown again to color in the top of my front porch. And I use some gray to add some shadowing on all the white areas. I use the light gray. So I wanted to show you a little tip for coloring in the front door, because the door can be a little bit intimidating. It's a larger area to color, so sometimes I know that people get a little unsure of where to do the shadowing and whatnot. So I thought I'd show you a little trick you could use. What I'm taking is a little piece of Post-it tape. You could use any kind of masking type tape that you have. I'm placing it in my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp right on that tape. I'm going to create a little mask for that doorknob so that I can quickly color in this front door. So I've got my little mask cut out, and I'm going to place it right over that doorknob. You want to make sure you stick that down really well. You don't want it to come up when you're adding your ink. And now I'll mask off the rest of the door. So I'm going back to that Post-it tape, and I'm going to place it all around the edges of the door. And then for some really quick coloring, we're going to go back to our Lumberjack Plaid ink pad and that blending brush, and we're just going to go ahead and blend that out. And again, you do want to make sure you press down that Post-it tape really well. Make sure that it doesn't allow any of that ink to seep underneath. So now I can add some shadows here and there just by using the brush. So if you're a little bit intimidated by coloring in that door, this is a really quick and easy way to do it. I can go ahead and remove my masking tape, and look how pretty that is. Now let's just remove that masking tape from the doorknob, and then I added a little bit of gray, light gray in there just to finish that off. I've got the coordinating die, so this front porch door does come with the coordinating die. And I'll run that through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. Now I'll just create a panel to fit behind those 2 window openings and that door. So I just cut a piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. I've covered the entire panel with the Saltwater Taffy ink that we used before. I'll go ahead and spatter this panel. That'll just give it a little bit of texture. And I'll quickly heat set that. You can see that it cut out all those little window openings, and that door will open and close. Now let's take a look at the brand new Front Porch Valentine set. And isn't this beautiful? I love the little rocker with the cat and the dog taking a little nap. That's what kind of inspired my background. And then we've got a mailbox, a couple of floral arrangements, that banner of hearts, this little candy box, and the heart wreath, and a little welcome mat, and also some little envelopes and a bow. So you have a nice collection here, and don't forget that you can mix and match these sets together. So all of your Front Porch series sets will work together. I'll start off with the light carmine, and I'll use that same color to do my shadowing. And I also want to mention that all of the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. We're not going to be adding a lot of different colors to this card. I want to keep with the pinks and reds, that beige and mid-brown, a little bit of light gray for some shadowing, and then we will add a little touch of green to the plant, just the leaves on the plant, but that'll be the only green that we add. That will kind of coordinate with that background that we have that is kind of fairly muted. I just want to keep everything in that same color palette. Now for this little friend sign, I'm just adding the shadows off to the right hand side, keeping the center of that the lightest. And then we'll use those same two colors on the little rocker. We're only going to be using one of the little potted plants, but certainly those separately on a card would be really cute. Just a little note card. You could take each of those little plants and place them on a simple note card, that, like a thank you card or a thinking of you card, would be really cute. So I love that you have so many images that you can mix and match with all your other sets. It just makes it so fun. And it also makes your investment worthwhile when you know that you can coordinate everything together. You get a lot more use out of your stamps when you can mix and match this way. Now I went back to that carmine to do the little cushion on the chair. And then I'm adding some shadows with that light gray on my two envelopes. Now I've got the sugared almond pink and the deep red, and I'll use that on the flowers on this potted plant. I'm not going to be doing that other one. We're not going to be coloring that one right above it today. I'll just set that aside again for another project. I'm thinking, like I said earlier, just maybe a simple note card. So I'll add some of that darker color in the center and pull it out towards the tips of the petals on my flowers. A little bit of that light carmine for the heart, and then that light gray for a few shadows. Now I've got two colors of green, the evergreen and the moss green, to color in the greenery. I didn't want to go too bright with the green. I thought I would stay more in this olivey tone. I thought it would go better with the colors that we're using. And again, I'll just add those darker shadows towards the base of those leaves. For each of these little hearts on this banner, I'm using the light carmine and a little touch of that deep red off to the left, and then I'll just pull that over. That'll give these a little bit more of a dimensional look. And then I'm going back to that beige, same beige, and I'm adding that for the little circles between each of those hearts. Now I've got sugared almond pink and light carmine to do this little heart wreath. And I'll do the same thing, just starting with the lighter color and adding a little shadow of the light carmine. And I did that for all of those hearts. And then here I decided to add that deep red to that little ribbon across my box of candy. And back to the light gray for the welcome mat. I'll also use the light gray on that little kitten, just adding a few little shadows there, keeping it mostly white. And then I'll use the mid-brown on the little puppy. And all of this is pretty simple coloring. These items are so tiny that it's really easy and quick to color these in. I put a little bit of the sugared almond pink on the cheeks. And then that pillow, I'm going to use the deep red to color in that pillow. For the mailbox, I'm adding a little shadow of the light gray. And then later on, I did add a little bit of that deep red to the center of that mailbox. Now I've got all the coordinating dies. I'll go ahead and tape those down with some Post-it tape. And I ran those through the die cutting machine. And you can see I left that one little plant to use for another project. So I've got my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I'm going to start gluing these layers together. And then I can attach this to the card. And now we can go ahead and lay out the front porch design. So you have a lot of options here how you want to lay this out, where you want to put all your little pieces. And now we'll add that little background behind this. I'm not going to have my door open, so I'm gluing it shut. If you want to have that open and closed, just don't put any glue behind that door. And then I'm just going to layer that panel on there. And again, for your layout, just play around with all the little pieces, parts, and decide where you want everything to be. I'm just going to center this down towards the bottom of the card. You could create a whole scene here. I have in the past with some grass, and you could put a fence in there. As I mentioned earlier, I did a little brick background, so you have a lot of choices with this, which makes it really fun. I'm going to pop those little pieces of mail inside my mailbox. You could always die cut some extras of these and kind of have them falling out of the mailbox, or have some down on the ground. That would be really cute. You could do them in different colors. And then what I'll do is I'm going to pop this up. Now with the original front porch set that we used to create the doorway, there are a couple of additional pieces with that set. There are some little lanterns that you could put on either side of the door. So you have some options with that. Here again, I'm just laying out all the pieces, and then I can go ahead and attach everything. So popping up a few of the items will give this a little bit more dimension. So I'll go ahead and pop up that little rocking chair. And again, I'm popping up the mailbox. We can glue these flat and that little floral arrangement. And then I'll pop up that little heart, that little box of candy. This is the fun part, building the little scene. I love this. When you have all your pieces colored in, everything's die cut, and you're just ready to do your assembly. It's just so satisfying to have it all ready to go. And then I'll pop up this little heart wreath. Then we've got this cute little banner. I'm going to put it right here at the top. And then I did play around with the bow. I decided to pop it up, and I was going to place it in the center there, but I thought it was a little heavy on the right hand side with items and objects. So I decided to put it off to the left hand side just to balance out the scene a little bit better. I've got my white gel pen, and I'm going to add some highlights, all the little hearts, and then to some of these other little items. I'll even add some little highlights inside all those window openings. It will just make it look like there's a little reflection there. And so now let's take a closer look at the finished card. And I love the background, and just this color combination just really was fun to do, just to kind of stay in this color palette. But certainly you could do this in all kinds of bright, festive colors. So just have fun, play around. I hope it inspired you to give it a try. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.